Hello, welcome to week 1 of English 102. Today you are starting week 1 and we're going to start the summary essay. This will take us through week 1 and week 2, modules 1 and 2. So you'll notice that you have quite a bit of material to look at for this module. So lecture notes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, make sure you look at these. We're looking at all of chapters 1 through 4 to start off the year, start off the semester. So chapter 1 is just basically getting you thinking about writing in college. And so it gives you these 6 different learning objectives that we're going to cover in that chapter. Chapter 2, reading with attention. This is really important for this class, making sure that you understand an author's purpose. As you read between pages 14 and 15, the authors give several examples of what they look for before they begin reading a text, so you can kind of look through that. It's always good to know what the topic and the purpose is of whatever it is you're reading. So is the purpose to entertain? Is it to inform? Is it to persuade? And then rereading for content and structure. It's good to go back and reread. We might not get all of the information that we need the first time that we read it, so not being afraid to go back and reread something. Okay, so the chapter 3 and 4 lecture notes are going to be a little bit more specific to your summary essay. You will be reading the story A Christmas Memory by Truman Capote. Truman Capote was an American writer. He wrote back in the 50s and 60s and into the 70s. My computer is being slow. He also wrote the book In Cold Blood. We're not going to read that book, but we are going to read his short story, A Christmas Memory, to write our summary essay off of, if the lecture notes ever load. Okay, let's try this again. Well, see if I can do it this way. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. This is going to be about summarizing and paraphrasing sources. So going ahead and make sure that you read through all of this, but the main difference between summarizing and paraphrasing is that when you are writing a summary, you are taking a larger work and you are condensing it into something smaller. So maybe that you want to summarize a story is going to be longer. You're going to summarize it and down to a few paragraphs. The difference between a summary and a paraphrase is a paraphrase is an objective restatement of a source, and you use it in the same way you do a summary. So a paraphrase is going to be the same length as the original piece you're working with, specifically whatever piece of evidence from a text that you're paraphrasing. So we paraphrase evidence, we summarize big pieces of work and into something smaller, okay? So that's what I talk about here. Think about you summarize large pieces of text and you paraphrase sentences within the text. Page 23 gives some pointed advice about when you should summarize, paraphrase, and quote. That's helpful to look at. For the summary essay that you're going to be writing for this class, they might ask you to kind of follow this step-by-step guide of how to do that. I also have a different kind of guide for you to use with that. So we can look at that in a minute. And then they just give you some more examples about how you might do that, how to avoid plagiarism. And then chapter 4 is about quoting sources, using signal phrases, and making standard moves. So remember that a quotation, if you're going to quote a piece of evidence, then that is going to be specifically like it is in the original text. You're just going to put quotation marks around it. For this essay, you will have one direct quote, and the rest will be paraphrased. So keep that in mind as well. And think about, like, if you're going to directly quote something, it needs to be memorable, it needs to be unique, it needs to be something that you can't paraphrase at all. Excuse me, that's why you would paraphrase or directly quote something. The book also suggests that you quote clear and concise language, so not including language that is wordy or difficult to understand. And then they talk about how to alter quotations. So if you don't know how to alter a quote, go back and look at that. It also gives you information about how to avoid classic mistakes in quoting. Don't quote too much. Barron and Rosen, our author, maintain that the idea of an academic paper is for teachers and professors to read what the student has to say. So that's why you're paraphrasing more than quoting in this class, because I want to know what you have to say. They also warn against including phrasing quotations. I like to call these dumped quotes. That basically means that you've taken a quote and just dropped it in your paragraph without any kind of a signal phrase or an introducer that comes before it. So, and I give you some examples of those. You have to have signal phrases like the author writes or Capote writes. You have to have that. On page 69, the authors talk about making standard moves to begin building your paragraphs. I'm fine if you choose to follow their advice. However, I also have a similar structure that I ask students to follow. And if you took my class last semester, then it's the structure we use for the research paper. So I'll include that and show you how to go about doing that. Okay. So let's look at your short story is posted here. So that's what you will read to write your essay over. Let's skip the rubric. We'll come back to that. I want to go to the summary essay instructions document. So let's look at this quickly. Okay, so you're going to be writing a 5-paragraph essay, an introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and conclusion. Hopefully by now you've written this essay before, and you're going to be writing it over a Christmas memory that's posted in Module 1.2. You're going to be writing it about the theme of the story. So it is a summary essay, and I feel like if we're summarizing well, then we're going to be including what the theme is. And so we have to define theme. Theme is a lesson or moral the author is trying to teach the reader. It's more than just a word. We can't just be like, friendship. That's not the theme. It needs to be like a sentence. Okay, so for instance, the theme of To Kill a Mockingbird is not doing harm to harmless things because they can't defend themselves and they are harmless. So as you read, or if you need to go back and reread the story for this essay, think about a possible theme. What message is the author trying to send the reader? Or what kind of a lesson are we supposed to learn from this story? In your body paragraphs, you need to display different ways in the story the author shows this theme. So for instance, in To Kill a Mockingbird, Harper Lee demonstrates the above theme through Tom Robinson, Mrs. DuBose, and Boo Radley. You could also include when Atticus tells Jim not to pick on the mockingbirds because all they do is make music for people to enjoy. So you just need to be able to pick out 3 examples from the short story about how theme is portrayed in the story. So you'll be referencing 6 pieces of evidence from the story. So you'll have 2 pieces of evidence that you'll reference per body paragraph. And you also have an assignment this week called Incorporating Sources into Your Writing. So you need to complete that as well. And that'll kind of give you some reinforcement on how to do that within your essay. You only have 1 direct quote in your essay. So make sure that you are only putting quotation marks around 1 piece of evidence. The rest of it needs to be paraphrased. So here's the structure that I have students follow for my essays. Is you start with the topic sentence. This kind of should stem from your thesis statement. What is the paragraph going to be about? Then you have a background information sentence. This sentence should tell what is happening in the story for your piece of evidence. You're giving us some context of what is happening so that the evidence makes sense. Then you have the introducer, the evidence, and the parenthetical. I call the introducer this right here, the author writes. To me, that is the introducer. People call it a signal phrase. I don't care. Just make sure that you have it. You can have the author writes, you can have Capote writes. These would be your different examples of how to include the page numbers. If you have Capote's last name in the introducer, then you would not need it in the parenthetical, or vice versa. If I don't have it here at all, then I would have Capote in the page number and the parenthetical. You have a parenthetical and an introducer, even if you paraphrase. You still have to have those 2 things. So if you don't know how to paraphrase well, you also have an assignment for that, I believe, this week. I could be mistaken, but I think you do. And then your evidence explanation. Here you need to have at least a couple of sentences that explain what the evidence is and explain how it supports that theme. So whatever the theme is, your evidence is proving that. And then in your explanation, you are telling me how that evidence supports the theme. And then you'll repeat steps 2 through 4. You'll do that again, the background information, the blue and the red, again, before you get to your transition statement. Your transition statement is something that helps you get from one paragraph to the next. You have to have that to have a strong essay. And if you don't have it, you will lose points. This gives you information about your introduction. I will let you read through that on your own, and then conclusion, and then some reminders. So make sure that you read all of that. Okay, your rubric is here. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on your rubric, but it breaks down the points for everything. Again, notice only 1 direct quote allowed in the essay. 2 pages are longer than 4 pages, 6 pieces of evidence referenced in the story, and then your conclusion. So it's worth 111 points. I have also included a sample summary essay for you if you need help looking at what a sample one would look like in your grammar and punctuation expectations for English 102. I've included a copy of that here as well. Okay, I'm going to go back to modules really quick and show you some of the things that need to be done this week. So you also need to start working on your actual summary essay. First, though, is your outline. Your outline will be due Wednesday. I need to see what you're going to be writing about. And so there's an outline template that is loaded here for you. You'll just download this, copy and paste it into Word, and then fill out your information and then submit that by Wednesday. So once you get your outline approved, you can begin working on your essay. You will post a rough draft of your essay to the discussion board here. I'm going to try something new this semester. I'm not going to put you in groups for the rough draft feedback. I do ask that you comment on, that you leave feedback on 3 people's essays. Everyone needs to do 3. Okay. And as you are going through who has posted their essay, you need to comment on people that don't have any comments at all first. So you'll have to post yours before you can see anybody else's. And then that kind of takes care of the problem of like, well, someone didn't post. That way, if someone doesn't post, you still have other people that you can go leave feedback on. And if that person doesn't post, then it's just their loss. I do, though, however, ask that you post your rough drafts when you're supposed to, and give feedback to other people. And I also apologize, you don't have a paraphrasing assignment this week. So don't worry about that. You do have this incorporating sources into your writing assignment, so make sure you look at that. And you also have a grammar and punctuation expectations quiz. So you have quite a few things that you need to get done this week. The biggest things are your outline, posting to the discussion board, starting your rough draft, the incorporating sources assignment, in your quiz. And I know that sounds daunting. It's really not that much, and it's really not that hard. You just have to get it done. Okay. If you need anything, please email me at parageandjana@gmail.com. Don't email my Crowder account. I don't check it very often. If you need a quicker answer, please email my Gmail account. Okay. If you have any questions, let me know. Have a great day.